In any case, there's been a new movie which I thought was a pretty bad movie, but I think young people like it, called Garden State. How many saw Garden State? Yeah. Well, that's the world that I grew up in, that I'm familiar with. I came from that environment that picture depicts. I never saw any drugs when I was young in that environment. That's all they seem to have in that movie. But things may have changed. But still, in that environment too, I never saw anything of what he's talking about. So, and I don't think I was a totally blind person. So I don't think there was anybody in that environment who was having things taken from their houses, or that enjoyed having anything taken from their houses, nor had anything, to my experience, but the closest relationship with people with who, if they had people who worked in their house. And I think that goes across a large swath of people, of relationships between blacks and whites over this particular issue of being in well, mostly Afro-Americans in middle-class white houses, shall we say. I think the relationships were always extremely warm. But I may be confused on that particular score. He doesn't think they were. In any case, white people, 23, who have robbed black people of their liberty and who profited by this theft every hour they live, had no moral grounds on which to stand. Well, so this is a real picture of how people felt in the 60s. We could go on like that. I don't know where to stop because it doesn't stop. Every Negro boy 24 in my situation during those years who reaches this point realizes at once profoundly because he wants to live that he stands in great peril and must find with speed a thing, a gimmick. Okay, now he's moving on to how he escapes. To lift him out, to start him on a way. And it doesn't matter what the gimmick is. Well, yes, it's right. And again, I don't mean to keep arguing with him, but I would submit to you from the world I've looked at, anybody in the world has to find a gimmick. And there's nobody around who doesn't have to find a gimmick. I don't think it's totally a racial thing. I mean, if you're going to survive and get ahead of the world, you've got to find something that you can do, that you can market, that you can present yourself as being able to do. Unfortunately, that's the toughest thing in life. That's for anybody. That is the toughest thing in life. You say, well, for us it was tougher. I admit that that's true. Only because there were not entrepreneur type situations in the environment in which he experienced. One of the things about the Los Angeles riots after the Rodney King matter was the antagonism in Afro-American environments to Korean shops. So Korean shopkeepers who weren't even born mostly in this country were being attacked and burned out, robbed, and so on and so forth, to the point that people were taking weapons against each other. But the problem was, how could a Korean come into an Afro-American neighborhood and own a shop? How could that, what made a Korean, why would a Korean want to do that? Why, again, where was the entrepreneurship in the Afro-American neighborhood? And that's what I think the black Muslims addressed, or tried to address, and are still being addressed. Owning a shop is no fun. Nobody likes to own a shop. Why? You got to be there all the time. You don't get a vacation. Owning a restaurant is no fun because you never get a vacation. You got to work like a dog. So again, the answer to the question is not necessarily why are the Korean shopkeepers there, and I don't think they're the only ones, but let's use them as an example. Unfortunately, coming from Korea, where they came from, they obviously had learned that in order to survive, you have to work like crazy. And most other people didn't have that lesson imbued in them. And I think anyone who has that lesson imbued in them, I don't recommend it. I don't want to work like crazy. Will succeed in this world, whatever your racial background is. I don't think there's anyone can stop someone who's going to work like crazy from succeeding. I don't care who you are. Certainly not in a capitalist environment. In any event, he had to find a gimmick. I agree with him. He definitely had to find a gimmick, and he's a lucky person. He found a gimmick, as he says on page 24. And by an unforeseeable paradox, it was my career in the church that turned out to be precisely my gimmick.